Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gomez, give him a hand, come on! Oh yeah, oh yeah! Give us some love, my brother. There you go.
Stop! You stop. Daddy! My kids were driving me insane as they argued in the backseat of my car. I told them for the 1,000th time to stop their bickering, but they continued fighting. I had enough. I stopped my car. I pulled over to the side of the road. I undid my seatbelt, turned around to face them, and without warning, I smacked both of them over the head. I had never hit my kids before. And as I looked in the rearview mirror to gauge their reaction, I saw my face, so much like my father's face. In fact, I saw my father's angry face in mine. As a child, I lived in constant fear of my father's beatings, which always made me cry. He used to grab me by my wrist so I couldn't get away. And with another hand, he used to whip me with a belt. I ran tiny circles around him, trying to get away, but it was impossible. If I annoyed him, he would smack me over the head with his fist. He had been raised in this manner, and he believed that by hitting me, he would make a good man out of me or kill me trying. When I was about 12 years old, I upset my father by not coming into the house when called. I was busy playing with my friends, and I foolishly disregarded his command. When I came into the house, he was waiting for me, belt in hand, and he started to whip me. But this time, I decided that I would not give him the satisfaction of seeing me cry or trying to run away. I stood to face him and looked him in the eye. But this only made my father madder, and he hit me harder. After a while, the pain was too much, and I broke down crying. My father stopped hitting me and walked away. That day, I promised myself that if he ever tried to hit me again, I would grab his belt and beat him with it. But I didn't have to resort to these actions because my parents immigrated to the United States, leaving me and my siblings in the care of our grandmother. Those years without our parents were a nightmare for us, so much that every once in a while, de vez en cuando, I even miss my father. A couple of years later, my father came back to Guatemala to bring us to the United States. But the first thing he did upon his return was to have a long conversation with our grandmother. I feared that she was going to fill his head with horrible stories about me, and I prepared for the worst. I waited for my father outside the house, and I feared that he was already upset at me and ready to punish me. So I took on a fighting stance. I made my hands into fists, and I waited for him. He was not going to hurt me anymore. He was not going to make me cry. I was going to let him make the first move, but after that, I was going to let him have it. When my father came out of the house, he came close to me and he put his arms around my body and lifted me in the air. I was sure that he was going to toss me away at any moment, and I swung my arm backwards, ready to punch him if he flicked me away. But he didn't. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was just hugging me. I couldn't remember if my father had ever hugged me before. Maybe he did, de vez en cuando, every once in a while. Slowly, I opened up my hands and I put them around his body, holding him back, crying. We moved into the United States, but a couple of years later, my father was diagnosed with cancer. On one occasion, I took him to the hospital, but the doctor started to ask him questions that he couldn't answer because he started to cough up blood. My father saw the blood on his handkerchief, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. I wish that I could tell you that I ran to his side, hugged him, and eventually he got better. But that was not the case. My father was taken into the ICU, and a couple of days later, he died in his sleep. That day in the hospital was the last time that I ever saw my father alive. And I had not seen his face again until the angry moment in the car with my kids. When I saw my face in the rearview mirror after smacking my kids, I looked so much like my father when he was upset at me. To my horror, behind my own reflection, I saw the pain and fear on my kids' faces. Just like my face when I was a kid, afraid of my father. But now my kids were afraid of me. I realized my mistake, and I turned around and I apologized to my kids for hitting them. With tears in my eyes, I promised to never hit them again, not even the best in Cuando. I hugged them, and I kissed their little faces. I continued driving, but not 5 minutes later, my kids started to fight again. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw my face, so much like my father's face. But this time, my reflection was smiling back at me. Thank you.
Mr. Gomez!